The wind blew hard across the dry red plains of the mining colony. Dust lifted in waves, dancing like ghosts under the pale sky. Torn stood outside his small outpost, wiping sweat from his brow as he adjusted the solar panel. The sun was strong. Today, just like every other day on Orin 7, a lonely place far from Earth. He had been here alone for 6 months now. His job was simple: keep the mining station running, check the machines, and send reports back to command. No real trouble, just silence, lots of it. He didn't mind. After all, he had chosen this quiet life, but that peace was about to end. It started with a loud sound, something sharp, cutting through the wind, a distant boom. Torn looked up. A thin trail of smoke streaked across the sky, falling fast toward the ground. Shuttle, he muttered. He dropped his tools and grabbed his scanner. The device blinked with warning lights. Something had entered the atmosphere without warning codes. Whatever it was, it wasn't part of any Earth mission. The crash happened to hills over. Dust and flame rose high into the air as the object hit the ground. Torn hesitated. Protocol said to wait and report. But what if someone was inside? What if they were hurt? His legs moved before his brain could argue. He packed water, a medkit, and a shock lamp. Then he climbed onto his Sandrunner bike and drove toward the crash site. The journey took 20 minutes. The heat made it feel longer. When he reached the spot, he saw a half-buried ship. It was small, maybe a scout craft. Its smooth silver surface was cracked and burnt. One wing had broken off and lay smoking nearby. Symbols were marked along the side, glowing softly in colors he didn't recognize. It wasn't human tech. That much was clear. Torn stepped closer, holding his lamp high. The front of the ship had a cracked hatch. Sparks flew from the sides. Then he heard something, a weak sound from inside. A whisper, a groan. He climbed onto the ship and forced the hatch open. The inside was dim, full of smoke and flickering lights. He moved slowly, careful not to breathe too much of the air. And then he saw her. She lay slumped in the pilot's seat, her body half covered by broken panels. Her skin was silver with a soft glow. Her hair was like strands of moonlight, and her uniform was torn, stained with dark fluid, her blood. He realized. Her chest rose and fell. Barely. Torn's breath caught. He had never seen anything like her. She was tall, slender, and regal even while unconscious, and she was dying. He rushed to her side, lifting the broken panel off her legs. Her body shivered at the touch. A small device on her wrist blinked red, making a high warning sound. He leaned closer. The screen showed symbols and strange language, but one word blinked in red repeatedly: critical. Torn grabbed his medkit. He tried using the universal patch, but her skin didn't accept it. Her body rejected his tools, one by one. "What do I do?" he whispered, feeling helpless. The woman stirred. Her eyes opened just a little, bright, violet, glowing faintly. She looked at him. Confused, her lips moved, and she whispered something in a soft, musical voice he couldn't understand. Then her hand reached up and touched his arm. Her fingers were cold and shaking. She looked at him again. There was fear in her eyes, but also hope. She spoke once more. This time slower, clearer. "Life a give." Torn's eyes widened. He pointed to himself. "You want my help?" She gave a small nod. Her fingers touched her wrist device and tapped a button. A panel slid open, revealing a sharp tool and a tiny needle. Symbols lit up, pointing between the tool and her own body, then to him. Torn stared. "You want my blood." She said nothing, but he could tell. That's what she meant. She needed it. He looked around. No help was coming. No time. No rescue ship. His heart pounded. This could be a trap. But something deep inside told him it wasn't. She was hurt, scared, and desperate. And something in her eyes reminded him of himself, alone and far from home. "All right," he said softly. "I'll do it." He sat down beside her and picked up the tool. It was warm in his hands. He pressed the small end to his arm and flinched as the needle slid into his skin. A soft glow moved from him through a tube into another port on her wrist. For a moment, nothing happened. Then her body jerked. Her eyes opened wide. Her chest rose deeply. The lights on her device shifted from red to yellow. Her wounds began to close, slowly, but clearly. Torn watched in disbelief. "What are you?" he whispered. The woman turned her head slightly. Her gaze locked on his. She blinked once, then smiled faintly. And then she fell asleep. But this time, she was breathing. Strong and steady. Torn sat there beside her, his arms still connected, his heart racing. He had just given blood to an alien, no, more than that. He had saved her life. And whatever just happened between them didn't feel like something small. He looked out at the open sky, where the stars had just begun to shine. He had no idea what came next, but somehow he knew everything was about to change. The storm came fast. Torn had to rush back to his outpost with the alien woman wrapped in a heat blanket, her breathing slow but steady. The Sandrunner's engine whined as the red dust blew all around him, clouding the sky. He didn't look back. The small silver wreck of her ship was already vanishing under the swirling winds. He reached the cabin just before nightfall. Inside, the temperature was warm. Solar lights buzzed faintly overhead. Torn placed the woman gently on the emergency cot in the corner of the room. She still hadn't woken up again, but the strange device on her wrist continued to blink in yellow. Maybe that meant she was stable. He didn't know who she was. He didn't even know if she would survive the night, but something in him refused to let her die out there alone. That night, Torn couldn't sleep. He kept checking on her, watching her chest rise and fall. At one point, she mumbled in a language he didn't know. Then, as if something clicked, her words slowly became more clear. "Where am I?" Torn jumped from his chair. She was awake, eyes glowing dimly in the cabin light. "You're safe," he said. "I found your ship." "You crashed." She blinked, looking around with confusion. Her hand touched her chest. Then her wrist device. "You gave your blood," she said softly. Torn nodded. "You were dying. It was the only way." The woman stared at him for a long time, silent. Then she spoke again, her voice clear, though still with an accent. "I am Elia, daughter of the High Seat of Viura. I am Princess." Torn blinked. He had expected a name, but not that. "Princess," he repeated. She nodded slowly. "I was escaping. Someone wanted me dead." He didn't ask who. Not yet. Instead, he poured her a glass of water and handed it to her. She accepted it with weak fingers and drank slowly, her eyes never leaving him. "You're human," she said. "I am," he replied. "Name's Torn." She studied him for a moment. "You're different," she said. Torn chuckled. "Most people say that, but not in a good way." "No," Elias said softly. "Your blood saved me. I feel strange. I see colors more clearly. I hear your thoughts." Torn frowned. "Wait, what?" Elia placed a hand to her temple. "Not words, not full thoughts, but feelings, like I know you." Torn looked away, unsure what to say. Outside, the wind howled. Inside, silence grew between them, but it wasn't cold. It was full of something else, uncertainty, maybe, or a strange connection neither of them could name. The next morning, Elia tried to stand, but her legs were weak. Torn helped her up, careful to be gentle. "You shouldn't move too much," he warned. "I heal faster now," she said, glancing at the band on her wrist. "Your blood changed something inside me." Torn raised an eyebrow. "What does that mean, exactly?" "I don't know," she admitted, "but I feel more alive than I have in years." They sat together in the small eating area of the cabin. Torn made her simple food, hydration broth, protein packs. She tasted each carefully, nodding in approval. They spoke little, but every time their eyes met, something passed between them, like unspoken questions waiting to be asked later. That day, Elias stood by the window, staring out into the dusty plains. "They will come," she said. Torn looked up from the desk. "Who?" "The ones who shot me down. They will search for the wreck. When they don't find my body, they'll search further." Torn's heart sank. Why would someone want to kill their own princess? Elia didn't turn around. "Because I wanted peace. My people are proud, strong, but they see humans as Les, I wanted to change that. Torn walked closer, stopping beside her. And they tried to silence you. Yes? Then we better be ready. Elia looked at him again, this time with something new in her gaze. Trust, you would protect. Me? Torn shrugged. You almost died in my arms. Kind of hard to forget that. She smiled faintly. I've never met a human like you, and I've never given my blood to a princess, he said, trying to keep the mood light. She laughed soft and musical. The sound surprised even her. That evening, the cabin sensors picked up movement. Torn checked the screen. A ship was entering. The atmosphere, small, fast, military pattern. Not Earth design. He cursed under his breath. They're here. Elias stepped beside him. We must hide. No good spots outside, he said. Too flat, too open. Then we don't run, she said calmly. We prepare. Together, they shut down the power grid to make the cabin harder to spot. They buried the heat signatures and sealed the windows. Then Torn handed her a stun baton, just in case. But Elia held it only for a moment before setting it aside. I will not fight unless I must. She said, if they see I'm alive, it may change everything. The ship landed 2 hills away. Through his scope, Torn saw 3 VR soldiers step out tall, armored, with glowing staffs. They searched the crash site, scanning the wreck. One of them shouted something in their language. They found the blood, Elias said quietly. They know I lived. They'll come here next. Torn readied his rifle not to shoot, but to scare. He didn't want blood. But he wouldn't let them take her without a reason. In our past. Then too, night fell. No attack came. Just silence. Then, finally, a message pinged through the intercom system. It was in VR tongue, but Elia translated aloud to the one who aided the princess stand down. She is claimed property of the high seat. Return her, and no harm will come to you. Torn narrowed his eyes. They're not here for a rescue. No. Elias said, they want to erase me. Torn looked at her, then made his decision. Then we're not giving them what they want. The red morning sun rose slowly over the dusty plains of Orin 7. Torn stood near the edge of his cabin roof, looking through his long-range scope. The VR ship was still parked 2 hills away. It hadn't moved all night. No lights, no sound. Just waiting. Inside the cabin, Elia was awake, sitting cross-legged near the heat vent. Her face was calm, but her eyes looked distant. She had not spoken much since the message came through. Her thoughts were heavy, and Torn could feel it even without her saying a word. Strangely, he didn't know how, but ever since the blood transfusion, he felt connected. Not like hearing her voice inside his head, but a feeling. He could sense her fear, her focus, her quiet strength. He didn't understand it fully. Neither did she. But the bomb was there. Torn climbed down and stepped back inside the cabin. They haven't moved. He said. Elia nodded. They're waiting, watching. They want me to come willingly. And if you don't, they may attack, she said, or they may bring others. Torn leaned against the table. I've got a few drones, and the cabin walls are strong. We can hold them off. Elia looked up. But at what cost? He paused. You're not thinking of surrendering, are you? She sighed. I want to live, but I also don't want others to die because of me. You helped me. Risk your life for me. I don't want you in danger. Torn crossed his arms. Too late for that. I gave you my blood. We're in this together. Now, her expression softened. Then we must make a plan, a better one. That afternoon, they worked side by side. Torn showed Elia the underground power storage he had built, a narrow tunnel. Hidden beneath the floor, they placed backup food and gear there, just in case they had to leave fast. Elia, in return, shared her knowledge of VR tech. She adjusted one of his signal boosters and turned it into a short-range jammer. This will block their scanners for at least a few minutes, she explained. Long enough for us to escape, if needed. While they worked, they talked more. Torn asked about her homeworld. She spoke of crystal cities floating above lakes, skies filled with twin moons, and long traditions that shaped her people for centuries. But as she spoke, her voice grew quieter. I was trained to lead, not to feel, she said. In my world, emotions are weakness, kindness is questioned. But after meeting you, I wonder if we've been wrong. Torn smiled. Feelings aren't weakness, they're what make us human. Elia looked at him for a long moment. Perhaps that's why your blood changed me. He blinked. Changed you? She touched her chest. I feel things I never felt before. My senses are sharper. My thoughts are clearer. And sometimes, when I close my eyes, I see you. Torn shifted, unsure what to say. She added, not visions, just moments, like memories that are not mine. Do you feel the same? He hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, it's like I know when you're near, or when you're worried. They were both quiet. The bond between them was growing and neither of them could deny it anymore. That night, the sky flashed with distant lights. Another ship was entering. The atmosphere. Elias stepped outside with Torn and looked up. Her eyes narrowed. It's one of ours. A royal design. They've sent a hunter-class ship. Which means, Torn asked, they're serious. She said, that ship is built for capture. If they find us, they won't ask questions. Torn looked at the horizon. We should move. Head to the old mines in the west. The rocks can block their sensors. Elia agreed. They packed fast. Just enough supplies to last a few days. Torn shut down the cabin systems and left a false heat signal behind, just enough to trick any scanner into thinking someone was still inside. Before they left, Elia paused and looked back. I came to this planet as a runaway. I thought I would die here. But now, she stopped. Torn looked at her. Now what? Now I think I was meant to find you. He said nothing. She didn't need him to. They traveled through the night, on the Sandrunner bike, cutting across dry valleys and ancient stone paths. The wind was strong, but the stars above were clear. Torn had never seen them so bright. By morning, they reached the edge of the abandoned mines. The place was dark, cold, and half buried by time. But it was safe. They hid the bike beneath a tarp and entered one of the old tunnels. Inside, Elia collapsed onto a stone seat. She was tired. The journey had taken its toll. Torn handed her water. Rest? I'll check the upper paths. She nodded. As Torn climbed the slope, his head began to throb lightly. He paused, then felt a strange sensation like warmth in his chest, a whisper. Not a voice, exactly, but a feeling. Fear. Not his, hers. He ran back down. Elia. She was sitting still, but her hands were clenched. You felt that too, she said softly. He nodded. Double quotes our bond. She whispered. It's getting stronger. Torn sat beside her. Is that good or bad? I don't know, she said. But I think it's becoming something more than science. He didn't press her. They sat there in silence, but in that quiet, something unspoken was clear. They were no longer just two strangers from different worlds. They were something else now. Back near the crash site, the VR soldiers found the cabin. They entered. Empty. The heat signal was fake. They reported to the hunter-class ship above. The captain, tall, sharp-eyed, dressed in ceremonial black, studied the report. She is still alive, he said coldly, and the human is helping her. What now, Commander? A soldier asked. The commander's eyes narrowed. Find them. The high seat wants her silence before the truth spreads. He stared out across the plains. She cannot be allowed to return changed. The darkness inside the old mine was heavy, but Torn and Elia had no choice but to stay. The cold stone walls echoed faintly with every sound, making them feel smaller than they actually were. Outside, the wind howled across the desert plains, carrying with it the distant hum of approaching ships. Elia sat on a ledge, her glowing eyes fixed on the small screen of an ancient data tablet she had found in the depths of the mine. Torn watched her silently as she carefully brushed dust off the screen and tapped on symbols that looked like stars and strange shapes. Where did you get that? Torn asked, his voice low. It is from my ancestors, Elia answered. Secret archive, hidden long ago before the war began. She looked up, her expression serious. This might explain why they want me dead. Torn leaned closer. What does it say? Elia tapped the screen again, and an image appeared. A Star map with a bright line connecting to planets. One was Viora, her homeworld, and the other was marked with a strange symbol, a symbol Torn had seen before on her ship. It is a message, she said, a prophecy. It speaks of a union between our people and another, a union that will bring peace and strength. Torn frowned. You mean between Viari and humans? She nodded. Yes, but many in my empire fear it. They see humans as weak, unpredictable. Torn swallowed. And you think that's why they tried to kill you? Elia's eyes darkened. Because I believed in that prophecy. Because I chose to trust humans. As she spoke, Torn noticed her fingers trembling slightly. He reached out and took her hand gently. Hey, he said softly, you're safe here. For now. Elia looked at their joined hands. Then back at him. Ever since you gave me your blood, I feel different. Stronger but also confused. What kind of confused? Torn asked. I'm learning to feel things I never did before. Emotions, doubts, hope. Torn smiled. Welcome to being human. For the first time, Elia laughed a clear, light sound that filled the cold mind with warmth. Suddenly, the tablet beeped with a warning. Elia's eyes snapped to the screen. They are close. The search party. Torn stood quickly, grabbing his rifle. How close? Too close. He looked outside through a narrow opening. Red searchlights cut through the darkness. Scanning the ground. We have to move, he said. Elia nodded, packing the tablet and the data into her bag. But before they left, she stopped and looked back at the small fire they had made. I don't want to run forever, she said. There must be another way. Torn tightened his grip on the rifle. We'll find it. They moved carefully through tunnels and rocky paths, avoiding the searchlights above. The bond between them was growing stronger, more than just feelings. It was a connection that helped them sense danger before it arrived. At one point, Elia stopped and placed her hand on Torn's chest. Your blood, it did something to me, but I think it also did something to you. Torn raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? She closed her eyes for a moment. You are changing too. You are stronger, faster. Your senses are sharper. He thought about it. Yeah, I guess I do feel different. Elia smiled. We are linked now, bound. The idea was strange but comforting. To very different people, from two worlds, joined in a way no one had ever seen before. As night fell, they found shelter in a cavern deep beneath the surface. Elia pulled out the tablet again, showing Torn a series of images and writings. This is the full prophecy, she said. It speaks of a future where humans and Viari will unite, where their blood will mix and create a new kind of life, stronger, wiser. Torn looked at the picture's strange symbols, glowing crystals, and scenes of two figures standing together under a bright sky. Do you believe it? He asked. Elia hesitated. I do now, because of you. She looked at him with eyes full of hope. Suddenly, the ground shook. A low rumble filled the cavern. Torn grabbed Elia's arm. Earthquake? No, she whispered, fear creeping into her voice. The shaking grew stronger. Dust falling from the ceiling. Then, from above, came a loud crash. The entrance was collapsing. They had only seconds. Torn pushed Elia aside and sprinted toward the exit. Rocks tumbled down, blocking the narrow path behind them. Elia reached out and touched Torn's arm. We can survive this, she said firmly. Torn nodded. Using all their strength, they moved forward, dodging falling stones. Finally, they burst into the open air, gasping for breath under the starry sky. Behind them, the mine entrance sealed itself with a thunderous finality. Safe for now. They sat on a rocky ledge overlooking the desert. Elia looked at Torn, her voice soft. We cannot hide forever. No, he agreed. We have to face them, together. Torn smiled. Together. As the stars twinkled above, two strangers from different worlds made a silent promise to change the future, no matter the cost. The sun had barely risen when Torn and Elia set off across the rocky plains, their path winding toward an old space relay station, a place Torn hoped would hold answers. And maybe a way off this dangerous planet. Elia rode on the back of Torn's Sandrunner bike, wrapped in a thick cloak against the cold morning wind. Her violet eyes scanned the horizon, sharp and alert. They won't stop looking for me. She said quietly, "The high seat will send more hunters." Torn nodded. "We've got to be faster. Smarter." The relay station was miles away, hidden behind jagged cliffs and deep canyons. No easy place to find, but it was perfect for a secret. As they traveled, Torn thought about how much had changed in just a few days. At first, Elia had seemed so distant, a mysterious alien princess from a faraway world. But now, with every shared moment, every small smile or word, she was becoming more real, more human. He felt the bond between them growing stronger. Sometimes, he could sense her feelings without her speaking. Other times, she seemed to understand his thoughts even before he said them aloud. It was strange. But it felt right. When they finally reached the relay station, they found it was old and covered in rust. The building looked abandoned, but Torn knew from past reports that some of its systems were still alive. Inside, the air was thick with dust and silence. Torn switched on a flashlight, lighting the cold metal walls. Elia moved carefully beside him, her eyes adjusting to the dim light. "I hope we can find something here," Torn said. Elia nodded. "This station connects to many worlds, perhaps even Earth." Torn tapped a panel, bringing up the main console. Screens flickered to life, showing star maps and signal logs. "This might be our chance to send a message," he said, fingers moving quickly over the controls. Suddenly, a low beep echoed through the room, a warning signal. Elia's eyes widened. "They found us, outside." The sound of engines grew louder. The VR hunters were closing in. Torn's heart raced. He grabbed a handheld scanner. "They're fast. We have maybe minutes." Elia took his hand, steadying him. "We must protect this place and ourselves." They barricaded the main doors with metal panels torn from the walls. Torn grabbed an old energy rifle mounted on the wall and handed Elia a stun baton. "We fight if we have to," he said. Elia nodded. The VR soldiers stormed the relay station moments later, their armor shining under the emergency lights. Their leader, a tall figure in black with a glowing insignia, shouted commands in their sharp language. Torn aimed the energy rifle carefully. The first soldier stepped inside and was met with a burst of bright light as Torn fired the stun baton, and Elia's hands glowed as she prepared to defend herself. The battle was fast and fierce. Torn shots stunned the attackers, while Elia moved with grace and strength, disarming one soldier and knocking another unconscious. But their numbers were too many. The attackers pressed forward, pushing Torn and Elia back toward the control room. Torn felt a sharp pain as one soldier lunged at him, but Elia struck the attacker down before he could finish. Breathing hard, Torn shouted, "We need to escape. Follow me." They ran to a hidden exit behind the control panels, a narrow tunnel that led outside to the canyon below. As they slipped through, the sounds of pursuit grew louder. Elia's hand tightened on Torn's arm. "They won't give up. We won't let them." The tunnel opened onto the canyon floor. Torn looked up. The rocky walls rose high, but there was a narrow path leading upward. They climbed quickly, heartbeats pounding in their ears. At the top, they found an old landing pad with a small shuttle, the last hope to leave this planet. Elia looked at the shuttle and back at Torn. "I do not know how to fly this," she admitted. Torn smiled. "I'll figure it out." Inside the shuttle, the controls were complex, but Torn's quick mind adapted fast. He powered up the engines, and with a rumble, the craft lifted off the ground. Behind them, the VR hunters reached the top of the canyon but were too late. The shuttle shot into the sky, racing toward the stars. As they flew, Elia reached out and touched Torn's hand. "Thank you," she said softly, "for saving me, for believing in me." Torn squeezed her hand. "You saved me too." Elia smiled, her eyes shining. "Together, we are stronger." Torn looked out the window at the distant planets and stars. "We have a long journey ahead." Elia nodded, "and a new future to build." The shuttle moved into the darkness of space, carrying two souls joined by fate and blood, a bond that defied logic and promised change. The small shuttle hummed quietly as it glided through the cold blackness of space. Torn sat at the controls, eyes scanning the glowing panels, while Elia rested beside him, her violet eyes watching the stars outside the window. Neither spoke. Much. The silence was full of thoughts and questions neither knew how to say aloud. Suddenly, the calm was broken by a sharp alarm. The navigation screen blinked red. "We have company," Torrin said, fingers tightening on the controls. Elia leaned forward. "Hunters, yes, they followed us from Orange 7. They will not let you go." Torrin's jaw clenched. "We have to be ready." Outside the shuttle, small fighter ships appeared like angry fireflies, cutting through the darkness at high speed. The VR hunters surrounded them, weapons ready. Torrin pushed the throttle forward. "Hold on." The shuttle shook as laser blasts hit the shields. Sparks flew from the control panels. Elia stood, steadying herself. "We must fight." Torrin nodded. "I can't do this alone." Elia reached out, placing her hand on his shoulder. The moment their skin touched, a bright pulse of light filled the cabin. Their bond, the strange power of the blood transfusion, activated. Suddenly, Torrin's reflexes sharpened. His thoughts moved faster. He could sense Elia's movements before she made them. She could feel his courage rising. Together, they were stronger. The fighters closed in. Torrin maneuvered the shuttle with skill born of desperation. He dodged blasts, weaving through the fleet. Elia reached for the ship's weapon controls. Quickly learning the layout, she fired bursts of energy, striking the nearest fighters. One by one, they exploded in bright flashes. The hunters grew angry. Inside the shuttle, the connection between Torrin and Elia deepened. They moved as one, his hands guiding the ship, hers controlling the weapons. The bond allowed them to anticipate each other's actions without speaking. They were no longer two separate beings, but a single force. Outside, the battle grew fiercer. A large VR command ship appeared, its heavy weapons aimed directly at them. Torrin's heart pounded. "Elia," he said, "that ship will destroy us if we don't act fast." She nodded. "I have an idea." Elia accessed the ship's systems through the control panel. "I can send a virus into the enemy ship's network," she explained. "But I will need to be outside the ship's defense systems to do it." Torrin looked at her in surprise. "You want to go outside?" She smiled. "Not alone." Together, they prepared for a risky move. Elia suited up in the shuttle's emergency armor, a lightweight but strong suit designed for short spacewalks. Torrin helped her with the helmet, then secured a tether to her waist. "You ready?" he asked. Elia nodded firmly. "For us." The shuttle slowed, drifting near the enemy command ship. Elia moved to the airlock. With a hiss, the door opened. She stepped into the blackness of space, tethered to the shuttle. Torrin watched her figure disappear into the void, heart pounding. Elia reached the enemy ship's hull and found an access panel. She worked quickly, plugging in a device that sent pulses of code into the network. Back inside the shuttle, Torrin faced the attacking fighters alone, dodging blasts and firing in return. His breath was steady, his mind clear. He was fighting for more than survival. He was fighting for a future, one where their worlds could be united. Suddenly, the enemy ship's weapons began to malfunction. Sparks flew from its sides. The fighters around them slowed, their engines sputtering. Elia's virus was working. She signaled Torrin to pull her back. He fired the shuttle's thrusters and caught her tethered just as she floated back inside. The airlock sealed with a soft click. Inside the shuttle, Elia collapsed into a chair, exhausted but triumphant. Torrin smiled. "You did it," she smiled back. "We did it." The enemy ships lost power and retreated into the darkness. For the first time, Torrin and Elia felt relief. As they flew toward a safe zone, Elia turned to Torrin. "I owe you my life," she said. "And I owe you mine," Torrin replied. Their bond had saved them both. They were no longer just human and alien. They were partners. Outside, stars stretched endlessly. Inside, two souls joined by blood and courage prepared to change the universe. The stars outside the shuttle window blinked quietly as Torrin and Elia floated through space, far from the world where their story began. The silence between them was soft and full of unspoken feelings that had grown stronger. With each challenge they faced, Elia looked at Torrin, her violet eyes shining. "We have changed everything," she said quietly. Torn smiled. "I never thought giving you my blood would lead us here." She reached out and took his hand. "Neither did the first, but now I know it was meant to be." The shuttle's communication console beeped. Torn moved to check it. A message appeared on the screen from a distant human space station. "Welcome home," the text read. "We have received your signal and await your arrival." Elia looked at Torn. "Your people are ready to help." He nodded. "They are, and I think your people will listen to once they see the truth." For the first time since her escape, Elia felt hope. Hope that peace was possible between their worlds. She turned to Torn. "What will happen when we return?" Torn thought for a moment. "We will tell them our story. Tell them about the bond of blood that saved you and changed us both." Elias smiled softly. A story of two worlds united. As the shuttle approached the space station, the stars gave way to glowing lights and towering structures. Torn and Elia prepared to land. When the shuttle touched down, a crowd waited, humans and VR alike. Many faces were curious, some doubtful, others hopeful. Elia stepped out first. She looked at the crowd and raised her voice. "I am Elia, Princess of Viora. I escaped death because a human saved me. Together, we have found a new path, one of unity." The crowd was silent. Then, a human elder stepped forward. "You have our respect," he said. "If this bond is true, it could change everything." From the VR side, a leader nodded. "We will listen." Over the following days, Torn and Elia worked together to share their story. They showed how their blood connection had healed wounds, opened minds, and built trust. More and more people began to believe. The ancient hatred between species began to soften. One evening, as the twin moons of the space station rose, Torn and Elia stood together on a balcony overlooking the city lights. Elia smiled. "We have started something new." Torn nodded. "A future where our differences make us stronger." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "We are proof," she said softly, "that even the impossible can happen." Torn smiled and took her hand. "Together, always." As the moon shone above, two hearts beat as one, human and alien, bound by blood, courage, and hope. Their story had defied all logic. And in doing so, it had changed the universe. End of story.